Hello, here to show you how to fix the grounding issue on your TJ Wrangler. So mine is a 2003, and here you can see me showing off sort of the backing plate. This is one that I've already done with the procedures that I'll show in the upcoming section, but here I take off the bulb, but you can see that bulb is attached to that metal plate, and that metal plate connects with the bolts on there that you can see right here, the bulb socket, and here's the plate. And that's attached to these bolts, which are then connected to the body, and that's how these rear taillight units ground themselves uh, to the car chassis itself. And you'll have issues if rust develops on these points. So to start off, you'll just want to remove the three bolts. So here you can see the actual rusted version. I already kind of loosened them, but here I'm going to remove all three bolts. This will also pop off the tail light as well. Once you remove the tail light, you can see how the actual bolt holes are rather rusty. Generally, this is what causes part of the grounding issue, as well as the rust on the backing plate of the tail light. So here I'm going to show you how to kind of clean them up and then rethread new bolts to them so that you can ameliorate or at least remove the grounding issue there. You can also see that being in this kind of salt belt, the bolts themselves are incredibly rusty as well. That's why I opted to replace them. If yours look okay, you can still reuse them with a little bit of wire brushing, but definitely check them because they can contribute to the grounding issue as well. So in order to replace the bolts, I got these bolts from Home Depot. Again, the length of it doesn't really matter too much. You obviously want to get something that's similar to the original length, but those are M8 bolts with sort of crush washers, or these kind of split ring washers. So I got a set of these, three for each side of the tail lights, and then in order to rethread where the bolts go on the body of the vehicle, I used the tap and drill. So the tap I used was again an M8 by 1.25 millimeters. The drill size for that could either be a 6.8 millimeter or a 17 64th inch drill bit. So there's the M8 by 1.25 tap. But regardless, you can get bolts of any size. I just tried to went with what was the closest that I could get to the original bolts that were on the tail lights. So here I am with a drill, quickly drilling out these holes. Again, you'll find that the 6.8 millimeter, which is what I used here, is slightly larger than the hole, so it doesn't take too much effort to just kind of bore those holes through and get through the rusted parts and to get some shiny metal underneath and get it ready for the tap. So after this, you can remove the separator plate from the actual headlight or tail light assembly, and then you can go ahead and drill the holes into the backing plate as well as the plastic headlight assembly. Just being careful here, I used a slightly larger bit. I believe I used the 7 millimeter bit instead of the 6.8 or the 17 64th inch bit, because again, this one has to be a little larger because you want the bolt to pass directly through it. You're not threading this, you're not threading the backing plate or the plastic headlight housing. The bolt has to be able to directly pass through, so it has to be a little wider than the diameter of the bolt. So here you can see me drilling out these holes in the backing plate as well as the plastic. Once the drilling's done, I just test fit the bolts to see if they kind of cleanly pass through and doesn't get snagged on the backing plate or the plastic housing. Here you can see that they pass through very neatly and has a little bit of wiggle room, but mostly are tight. After that, I go in with Dremel with a bit of with an abrasive tip. Realistically, anything you can use would be good for this. Even if you had maybe a sanding block that you can trim down and fit in there, as long as you can use something to abrade away the rusted area of that backing plate where that bolt and nut will sit. Where that bolt and the washer will sit. That will be enough. You just want to clean up the contact points here. Obviously, I have a Dremel that does this relatively quickly, but you can use really anything here. It's just that note that you can't remove the backing plate from the plastic as far as I can tell. So you kind of have to braid it and clean it up while it's still in there. So it's a bit of a small room for movement, but you can still do it if you have even any kind of abrasive tools for this. After that's done, you can go in now with the tap. Just make sure the tap is perpendicular to the flat surface where the bolt holes are, and then just slowly thread it in. Some lubricant will help. In this case, I didn't use any because, again, if you use the correct drill bit size, the tap doesn't have to do as much work. But just be careful because the sheet metal there is still very thin, so if you kind of nudge it while you're tapping, you could possibly damage the threads and you might have to start again. So again, just be careful and go slowly. Once that's done, just put the headlight housing back, confirm that the holes match up, and then you can begin the process of reassembly with the bolts. So here I just thread these bolts in with the washer in between. So I obviously go in first to sort of get everything tightened down and get everything fixed. And then after this, I'll go in with the ratchet to kind of snug everything up. And that's roughly finished. I didn't show any videos of the finished product, unfortunately, but rest assured it did at least work for me. I think this repair works pretty okay. I'm still monitoring how mine is, but it's lasted so far for at least 6 months now. So, and now it's just the winter months, so the headlights are still very well fastened to the car, and there has been no grounding issues since. So this is for anybody that has a grounding issue and rusted out taillights. Give this a try before you toss those old headlights away. Maybe this will give them another few years.